So I don't know if you heard what happened, but Santa, you hear the chuckles already. Santa actually sent God a really disturbing report recently. And it got God pretty worried, actually. And so he was really questioning what was happening here on earth and decided to, send one of his angels, Michael, to just check it out. He was really nervous around it. And so Michael, a few moments later, comes back and says, God, it's true. About 95% of all people on earth have been naughty, and only 5% have been good. God could not believe it. He was besides himself. He couldn't believe it, so he decides to send now Gabriel to check it out and just make sure. And so Gabriel goes down again, and so comes back and says, nope, Michael was right, God. Only 5% of people were good. 95% were naughty. So God's just thinking to himself, like, I really need to inspire that 5% to shine their light, to not feel defeated over it, to spread some of that joy. And so he decides, it's around this time. So he decides to actually send an email. And do you know what that email said? Do you know what that email said? No. So you were part of that 95% also. And that was my Christmas gift to you all. No unwrapping needed. But that's a very old, more anthropological way of seeing God. Here in Unity, we understand God to be that presence of good, that light that is within us, that light that is constantly moving to expand from us to the lives of others, to the lives of the people that we get to touch. And sure, maybe some of us have been naughty here and there this year. And sure, some of us may not have fully lived into our full Christ potential. But you know what? I bet we've been more good than we give ourselves credit for. I bet we have shared more love and more light and more joy than we have allowed ourselves to believe we are capable of giving to others and being able to experience for ourselves. And I tell you that the most important thing for me is that we're trying. We're really looking to live more fully into our truth. We are doing the work of really embodying that higher self, what we call Unity here, the Christ presence, that which we are celebrating today. And I have to tell you that maybe we're doing it consciously, maybe we're doing it unconsciously, maybe we're asking ourselves quietly, silently to ourselves, maybe we're shouting it out. We really are looking to ask, how can I be more of that presence of love in the world? How can I share more of that light? How can I be more of that Christ self that I am? What would love do in this moment? I'm sure if you think back, there were moments this year where you stopped yourself and asked, what would that Christ presence that I am, how would it respond in this very moment? How could it inspire that which I am living into? And so tonight is, as we celebrate Christmas and Christmas Eve, yes, it is a celebration of the birth of Jesus, and also it is the awareness that we are constantly rebirthing ourselves into our truth. That as we really open ourselves up to asking ourselves, who are we? Whose are we? How is God's presence alive in us that we continue to expand our understanding of that which is within us, that Christ essence? And it's funny because I was thinking this morning how we do call it in Unity our higher self, but that's really a misnomer for me now because it's not a higher self. It is ourself. It is who we are. Everything else outside of that is a false understanding of our truth, is a false identification, an erroneous identification of who we are. So our self is simply that which God is. Our self is that Christ presence that we celebrate. And so we are celebrating how Jesus, through his birth, through his life, through his ministry, came to show us the way. Now, I know that in Christianity, sometimes we forget that before there were worshipers of Jesus, there were the followers of Jesus. And you know, I really think that worshiping Jesus is much easier than following Jesus. To worship Jesus, to worship, you know, we buy a cross, we have a nativity set, we say our prayers, but to follow Jesus, we have to ask ourselves, how can I be the living nativity? How can I embody that Christhood? How can I be that living, walking prayer? It's not only about speaking them, it's about really living them. Now, Jesus came and said that he was the way, that his actions, that his examples, that they were the way to more fully recognizing the very activity of God that is constantly in us and constantly in our lives, and that through that we'd be able to experience heaven, which he also taught us it was right here and right now, heaven at hand. And the more that we recognize our truth, the more expansive the love and the light that we can share with each other. And that the more that we can do to bring more of that light into the world. He even said from John chapter 14, verse 12, "Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these." He came to remind us that we each have that light, that spark of divinity within us, and that we can lean on it, that together we can explore more of what that is, and that we can embody it moment by moment. Did you know the first words attributed to God in the Bible are, "Let there be light"? And the first words attributed to Jesus is from Mark chapter 1, verse 15. He says, "This is the time of fulfillment." And so here we are this evening, gathered today to be the fulfillment of that light. Like, hold that for yourself. We're here to fulfill the light that God brought into this world. How are we allowing ourselves to move deeper into that question of asking ourselves, how can we on this sacred and holy and special evening really take hold of that message and allow that to be what catapults us into experiencing more of our good in the world and to allow more to experience more of that good with us? Carl Jung says that the whole point of Jesus' life was not that we should become exactly like him, but that we should become ourselves in the way that he became himself. Jesus was not the great exception, but the great example. How are we really honoring that example? And how can we allow ourselves to be that which honors that Christ light that is within us? We are the light of the world. I share that with you constantly because constantly I need that reminder also. But how are we really living it? How are we really honoring and celebrating ourselves as that light? How are we letting it shine brightly from us? How are we not putting it under the bushel, but actually lifting it up for all to see and experience? And that recognizing that we are one light multiplied by so many of us, and that we each have a very unique way of being that light in the world and allowing that light to heal humanity, to heal ourselves and to heal humanity the same way that Jesus over 2,000 years ago came to do. The same way in which those that came to that manger and came to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ recognized he was there to do. How are we allowing ourselves to shine so brightly that just like when Jesus was born, the moment that we are reborn into our truth, everyone can feel it. Everyone can see it. And most especially, we can own it. Now, I love that in Christmas, there's so many different symbols. And a few weeks ago, I shared with you some metaphysics around the symbols of the Nativity. Today, I'm really honoring and really sitting with the symbol of the star, which shone so bright. The star that represents the light of the world, the light of God coming into the world. And it's really interesting that light is such a powerful symbol that there are so many world religions that honor and celebrate the power of that light. Our Jewish brothers and sisters Some, even in this room, are celebrating the holiday of Hanukkah, the celebration of Hanukkah. A few weeks ago, in the Hindu philosophy and religion, there was the Festival of Lights and the Diwali candles being lit. And in Islam, one of the main symbols of Islam is the star. And it symbolizes the enlightenment that comes when we fully allow the light of God to shine upon us. I would say that it shines upon us, through us, and as us. Christ is that light. From John chapter 1, verse 1 through 5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. All people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There are so many times, if you've experienced some of what I've experienced or seen some of what I've seen, and just been open to the things that are happening around us, there maybe have been so many times where we could have allowed that darkness to take hold. But something within us told us, I can see it by the fact that we are here celebrating Christmas Eve together, that light that we are could overcome that darkness. That there was hope, that there was faith, that there was trust, that this light was coming into a greater expression. And that's what we celebrate today. Not only that we recognize this light that we are, but that we really are willing to shine it more fully. And so if there was a part of you, or there is a part of you that may have felt that your light was becoming a little extinguished, tonight, let it be relit. If there's something within you that felt that your light was being diminished, tonight, let yourself feel ablaze. If there was part of you that felt maybe a little lost, even during this holiday, or just not sure how this light was supposed to show up, let the light of Christ, the light of God, shine the path for you this evening. And so how can we shine this light more fully? It's really simple, and it's really complex. Isn't that great? It really is. It's as simple or as complex as we decide to make it. Because for me, the way that we can live more fully into our light and express that light into the world in greater ways is simply by love. By being loving. Loving on ourselves, loving on each other. To seek, to feel, and to see the love that is around us. It is love that I believe that allows our light to shine brighter and brighter. And to lift others out of darkness. The way that that light also lifts those erroneous beliefs about who we are, brings it to light, releases them from that darkness, releases us from the darkness of not knowing fully just what we're made of. Questioning ourselves, judging others for we not recognizing that truly here and now we are the full light of God. And it is not only born in us, it was meant to shine through us. This, as Jesus came to tell us, is the time of fulfillment. Hamilton Wright Mabel actually said, "Blessed is the season which engages the whole world in a conspiracy of love." Just breathe into that. Blessed is the season which engages the whole world in a conspiracy of love. You know, our choir singing, seasons of love. This is the season of love. And so how can we be more loving? And how can we allow more of that love to take hold within us? You know, going back to that manger scene and the nativity, let us not be the innkeepers who do not have space for Mary and Joseph as they are birthing Jesus. Let us truly open up our space, our hearts, and allow more of that which God is to take hold of us. Let's not fill our inn with regret, with judgment, with resentment. If you have any of that, tonight is the night to clean that away, to make room for something else, to clean that up so that we can love ourselves more fully and love others more fully. Ernest Holmes says, "Love alone shall discover the heart of God at the heart of humanity. Love alone shall reveal the self to the self and find enthroned in the high citadel of the secret place of God in our own heart that beneficence which embraces the whole world. When love's activity is no longer confined to the littleness that restricts but extends to everything and everyone, then shall we hear its song sung throughout our lives." So release the fears today, release the worries, the anxieties, the judgments, any restrictions that you may or may not have realized you had on love and your light, so that there is room in the inn for all that God is already in us. Let love be what fills your heart so completely. Let light be what fills your very being so completely that there's no more room for anything else. I invite you to hold in your heart these words that, as I look around the room and really experience this evening in this way, are so true. That each of us truly are so blessed. And we are truly such a great blessing. It is the power of love and the power of light that we are celebrating today, as Jesus was birthed in the manger over 2,000 years ago. So in us, this evening is birthed a greater way of being. And it is the path of light, and it is the path of love. We are the Christmas miracle. What I see, what I hear, what I know is that Christ is born in us, and that the time of fulfillment is now, and that the light of the world is us. Thank you for shining who you are and making it a Merry Christmas for many. Namaste. Thank you so much for visiting our YouTube channel. We post new videos every week to keep you positive, present, and inspired to your divinity. Please click on the subscribe button below and also that notification bell. Remember to share this with your friends and your family, those that you know will be inspired just like you have been. And always remember that we love you, that we bless you, that we behold the Christ in you, and we see you doing great things. Thanks and take care.